Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Sunday Musicians Café. I'm Pietro, an Italian violinist and founder of this podcast. Today we hit episode number 41 and I'm really glad that for the first time we are going to talk about sustainability with an incredible guest such as Leah Brückner. First of all, I want to say hi to everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday afternoon, resting from, I bet, a busy week of work. If this is the first time for you watching the podcast, welcome, warm welcome. And let me just quickly explain what is this about. It's just a project I started last year by myself, and still alone, by the way. With the idea of trying to share with people the behind the scenes of the life of a musician. So all the curiosities you have, all the questions you have, you are very welcome to feel free to send them here in the chat, to ask any questions you have. Also during our chat with Leah, it would be nice if we could answer to some of your questions. Leah, apart from being an incredible musician and violinist, she is ambassador for Benedetti Foundation, and so she's an instrumental ambassador, and she's an incredible activist. So I'm really glad that for the first time we talk about sustainability and how musicians can really help to contribute for a future, for a greener future, for to be more sustainable. I always been very curious about this topic because obviously you think musicians are not directly involved with this kind of stuff, but actually we are so much, and Leah is gonna talk us through all of the possibilities and all the things we can do actively as musicians to help building a better future and sustainable. I think we should invite her and talk about this. And again, if you have any questions or curiosity about musicianship and life of musicians, you can send them in the chat here below, and that would be very nice. Let's invite her.
Hello.
Hi Leah, how are you?
Good.
All good?
And you?
Very good, very good. Thank you so much.
Great.
First of all,
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, it's such a pleasure, and I'm really happy, as I was saying in the introduction a bit, that for the first time we talk on this podcast about sustainability, and I have to say I'm guilty myself that I always thought that musicians we have nothing to do with ecology or sustainability. You know, it's such a different world, but actually it's not. I mean, first of all, as human beings, we are directly involved, and so as musicians, I'm really curious about all of your suggestions and all of your insights about this incredible thing we can actually help the future to be a better and sustainable planet on the planet, right? So I was saying a couple of things about you, but we never met in person, so that's the reality. And but I'm really happy that this project is helping me to meet new people as well, like you, right? And I love your content, so you're an incredible content creator. And obviously an incredible musician as well. So you're a violinist, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Tell us a bit about your background. Mm-hmm. How do you decided to become a musician, and why did you choose that?
So maybe to start very early, I started to play an instrument when I was 6 years old. That was at that time the flute. Like I think every kid starts somehow with the flute under the Christmas tree. And in that time, I don't know if you have ever seen, but there are existing flutes from plastic, which are actually for the dishwasher. So you can, you can respect properly for the young kids when they are playing and salivating a lot into the flute. You can even put it into the dishwasher. So that was my first.
Clever.
Yeah, and then pretty fast I started to be a little bit kind of, I would say, bored by the flute in the lessons, and I was not a very patient student. So the teacher said, look, I think you should play a more difficult instrument. I mean, like where you have more technical things which you have to figure out. Not that the flute is not difficult, but the violin is still more difficult, like for young kids, especially for the brain. And she said, yeah, you would probably do a bit better and become a better student if you play the violin. So yeah, I didn't really care. I just said, give me any instrument, I will try it. So I tried violin, and somehow, yeah, I stick to it till nowadays. And then I studied in Essen at the Volkwang University of the Arts in Germany, because I'm from Germany. So I studied here and bachelor's and master's. And then I would say like 4 years ago, I slowly came more and more into this topic of culture and sustainability. So I, especially in the lockdowns and in Corona, I found it very like sad that the topic of climate change went so much in the background, for a reason, of course. I mean, we had a pandemic going on, but at the same time, climate change is our biggest issue right now on planet Earth. So, and I found it very, very sad that because of a pandemic, suddenly in the news, nobody was talking anymore about climate change. Everything went on the focus of how to deal with the pandemic, but not how to deal with the actual disaster, which will come probably in the next decades if we don't do something. So I thought, what can I do from home? And yeah, that's how it all basically started with Music for Our Planet, where I did some videos, online content with musicians together, and started to draw attention to sustainability online, and realized it's actually, there are not so many yet doing anything about it. And musicians, exactly what you said, they think, especially in classic, like, what I have to do with climate change, what can I do? I'm a violinist, or I'm just a pianist, or I'm just playing music. So what do I have to do with that topic, and what can I do? So yeah, and I started more and more to research who's involved in it, and yeah, that's how it all became what it is today now for me.
Wow, I mean, it's very honorable, first of all, and I think it's you're for sure you're the only one I know personally. Maybe there are other people in the world that are classical musicians that are directly involved with this as activists, really, because I saw you talked like you gave speeches about climate change, and I mean you're becoming like a public figure to follow for this, right? And for sure in the classical music world, I think you are the only one. So I don't know, you know better than me, obviously. Are there many people?
I mean, there are some. I mean, I would say mostly orchestras. If there are actors, then they are orchestras, but like whole groups of musicians.
Not individuals.
Yeah, not
right.
Individuals. I mean, there are some who take care on it, but they don't want, for certain reasons, to make it too public, because they say it could have a bad influence on their reputation, on their image, and everything. So there are some actually even famous names. I mean, I'm not going to mention them. I know from them that they are, for example, paying compensations for the traveling, that they are trying to support projects, but they're not publishing it, because they say then people would start to judge me because I'm not neutral, political neutral anymore, kind of.
I think this is you just raised an incredible topic, which is the political view about climate change. It's so biased. I mean, that's I never understood this. And you can have political views, so you can have different point of views on how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
But you cannot say that the problem doesn't exist.
Yeah, and that's the issue in it, that like there's politics and there's science. And science is like when there are 99, I mean, they're now really nowadays, I read now a number, like 97% of scientists, they did the research worldwide, they all say the emissions that humans are producing, they are causing this fast climate change. I'm always getting mails like this. Climate change was always existing. Yes, I know it was always existing. But not that fast. And that's the big issue now at the moment on planet Earth, because usually it's like a few 10,000s of years till the climate is changing. Now we are having a change of almost 2 degrees already during 200 years. And that's simply too much for the ecological system, that everything, like all the species, the plants, nature, everything can still, I mean, they don't have time to really develop a way to survive in this new climate. And that's the biggest issue. Not that the climate is changing, probably it's going to be colder, warmer, that's normal, but this now what is happening, that's the atypical thing of human-made climate change. And that's the issue, what always people think it's an opinion, but it's not an opinion, it's a fact. And now I say we have to think how to solve. There are different opportunities and different possibilities, but not about if I believe in climate change or not. It's not a religion, it's not a question whether I believe in one or in the other one.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you 100%. And I mean, we can discuss about how we can fix it, no? Which ways we should take more into maybe automatisms, or maybe reducing what we're already doing. There are different ways of doing it, but definitely we have to do something. I mean, but we will do it. I mean, I don't know if you are, but I guess as a climate ambassador, your role is more to provoke as well, and to be more aware of it, yes, and to try to create a bit of awareness in the people. So I don't know if you have a positive approach or very, very strict with that, because personally I'm very positive, maybe even too much. So I trust human being 100%. So I trust that humanity will find a solution, and it will be a natural, I would say maybe a tendency of everybody to be ecologist in a way, or to be more aware of it. It will be natural tendency, but I don't know, maybe I am too positive. I'm Italian, I like the sun and stuff. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think, of course, the more you read about the topic and the deeper you go, and the more you see what is going on in the industry, in the politics, and everywhere, you realize like there has to be a big thing to make them change drastically. And that's the issue what I see at the moment. Like, for example, now, I mean, at the moment, like today, there are the votings for the European Parliament.
Yes.
And see the tendency of what people are voting. It's not, I mean, climate change or climate protection is not really the biggest priority at the moment in Europe. We have so many national vibes going on in all the countries. And that's the biggest issue. We are somehow trying to, at the moment, be very national focused on our own country and make our own country stronger again and more like aware of who we are as a country. But this development at the same time makes it super difficult for us to find a solution together, and that's the big issue, because we need a global solution. Not one continent, not America, not China, not Europe, not like non-country can solve it alone. And that's the big issue in it, that we need now to have a development at the same time, all in the same direction. And that's where I see it very difficult, especially if you see at the moment really what's going on in the world, also with war and everything, somehow it's sliding like that, even if we should all come together and work actually on our future together. So if we would do that, if we would work together, we could definitely do that. I mean, the technologies mostly are there. Just there are two things, like one is money rules the business. So as long the money is there with what is not green, what is not sustainable, then the industry or the politics will support that. And at the same time, there are we consumers who have to start changing our habits. And that's the most difficult, because human being, we all love habits, and we all have hundreds of habits, personal habits that we are following every day. And to change those habits from, I don't know, going to the supermarket and not taking exactly the same things as usual, but always checking what are you taking to the grocery store, if you go to DM or to Rossmann or whatever is in your country, checking the package, is it environment friendly, is it sustainable, all these things. I think to change habits for humans, it's super difficult, and we all think it's a personal decision, which is part true, but at the same hand, it's not. It's like in Germany, for example, we had this huge campaign about smoking, like I think like, let me guess, like 15 years ago. Everywhere you could smoke. You could smoke in the restaurants, you could smoke on the terrace of restaurants, everywhere.
Nice.
And suddenly the politics said like, okay, no smoking in like public areas, just in special smoking corners, not in restaurants anymore. It's not allowed to do that inside. And everybody was like, oh my God, that's a personal decision. How can you do that? How can you take that from us? It's my decision wherever I want to smoke. Was like for 2-3 years. And then everybody got used to it. And now it's unimaginable to come to a restaurant where it would be full with smoke and people would smoke inside. And I think it needs now more precise plans what to do, how to do that, and to take the people with, because without us, I mean, without the society, it just doesn't work. And that's where art actually comes into the game.
No, I see. I mean, you touched very important points. I mean, first of all, the politics involved, and by the way, I'm glad you mentioned this, that today is still possible to vote for Europe. So if you didn't do it, go please and vote for Europe.
Live and go to vote. Don't watch us.
Exactly. You can watch it later. It's gonna be posted, so you can watch it later. If you forgot to vote, please go now and vote. So you touched the fact that in Europe at the moment the tendency is more nationalistic. So I did a degree in political science as well. So I see myself in what you're talking about, because as a musician as well, I was also into many other topics, and I was very happy to do that degree. And I'm sure that this tendency today is related at least to two factors. One is the geopolitical tensions. So we cannot avoid nationalism coming up, because obviously the fear of being in a war again, it's actually really tangible. So that's also a thing that we should take. Obviously, I mean, I understand your point of this. So the ecology is a topic that involves everybody, not just some people. Yes. So to take care of the planet is something that involves everyone on the planet. So this is obviously it's more important. It's not, but I see the other point of okay, there are geopolitical tensions which could lead to a massive world war, which is already happening in bits, in pieces, but it's not as the classical war that we are used to imagine. And the other one is the economical problem. So economically, the economy is going in a difficult situation at the moment, and crisis is behind the corner. So that's, I think, that what is leading the politicians to be more nationalistic, which doesn't justify any negationism about the climate change. So whoever is a politician who is more nationalistic and also says that climate change is not a problem is stupid. So it's not possible to think that way. No? So just sorry to say again, these couple of things, but I really wanted to share it with you, and I like to talk about this. So the other thing you touched very important is I mean the individual responsibility, right? And you said everyone has the possibility to choose in the supermarket what to buy, and this is very important. And I love this approach because it's not just theory, right? It's in practice what we can actually do as consumers and citizens of where we are, with the means that we are able to afford, obviously, because some people don't have that much choice in some countries. In our countries, luckily we have more choices. So we should be more responsible on what we buy and how we buy it. But so here comes my curiosity, the biggest one, which is how musicians can choose. Which are the choices that musicians should take in order to be more greener, like more sustainable?
So basically what I I see is, as a musician, I see myself like a one man or one woman company. So I'm nothing more than a company basically who is developing a product and who wants to bring it to people. I am
I love
everything
this.
at the same time. I'm the inventor, I am the entrepreneur, I'm everything at the same time. So what I can do, like with every other company in brackets, if you call it company, you have the choice how you want to make your economy work. So basically, if you choose to be a green startup, you will have in your marketing and management strategy and plan, you will have already the point of sustainability in it, or even emission neutral, which means that everything what you produce, what you do, what you consume, what you buy, or what you put in your marketing campaigns as an image outside is going to be led by the idea of sustainability. And this is a thing I personally think that we lost it somehow as musicians in the last decades, because earlier in days we always have like the big examples of big musicians like Rubinstein, Liszt, and all those people like being great examples of us. And there are actually, if you see, I just read now, maybe you will know the story from Italy. Actually, Toscanini, he should conduct the anthem of the fascists in the 40s,
Yes.
and he went to prison because he didn't, because he avoided.
Yes.
So he made a clear decision for himself, which had consequence, but he did it. And there are a lot of, actually in the history, there are a lot of examples, like also, for example, Mozart starts really early, when he was thrown out at the Pope's audience in the Palais because he was criticizing the Pope. So all those people that we are imagining as the perfect example of classical musicians, they were very strong personalities about certain things. They had all their own goals they went for. So I mean, Mozart operas, he criticized how it is with the rich, the groves, the kings, how they behave with the more poor people, etc. So it was actually basically all political. And somehow in the last decades we came to that we say classical musicians have to be political neutral. But what does that actually mean? How political neutral are you? Let's give you an example. So for example, you play in a festival, the biggest sponsors in Germany and also Austria and Swiss, I researched that, it's like Skoda, AIDA, BMW, Lufthansa. So let's say Rolex, that's also very common. So let's say you play on a festival and behind you is the big sign of Lufthansa, but you're not saying anything. You're just playing. Of course, you are standing for the values of that company because you are playing and you are with your face standing for that. Now you might say, but what I have to do with the sponsoring? Now let's change it for some very bad historical German sign from 1940, which would be in the background behind you. Would you see it that you are political neutral just because you don't open your mouth and you don't talk? It's obviously for what you stand as soon as behind you. So of course you cannot compare one with another. You cannot compare those brands with some other signs, but it's just like a thinking game, how it influences us. Everything influences us, what we see. So if we go to a festival and there's big sponsoring by AIDA, we somehow realize it. Maybe you don't even know that it's a sponsoring because you didn't really actively focus on it, but you will know it. And then in that moment, as a musician, you have the choice, especially if you are, for example, an artist leader of a festival, and an artistic director of certain chamber music ensembles or whatever. You can kind of also choose in the sponsoring to force a sponsoring, to ask green banks, especially, for example, in Germany, we have now really nice possibilities with green banks and green companies to go for another sponsoring. And of course, then you influence the people by showing them that next to the economy, so of course you don't want to be in minus after, but as much you calculate the finance, you also calculate, on the other hand, your emissions that you are having. Because it should be natural that in our whole planning of festivals, of concerts, of tours, it's not just money, but it's also emissions, because both are things that are influencing our life in a way that can decide anything, kind of how the future goes. So if in minus 50,000 after, it influences in a very bad way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like the ecological part, the only issue with the ecological part, you don't feel it immediately. And that's
Yeah.
what it makes for people so difficult to include it in their economical thinking.
No, I mean, you gave up perfect examples of the past, obviously, of the musicians we were talking about, including Mozart, obviously, to be so to stand for values that you believe in, even within your job, right?
Yeah.
And this topic, if I may say something, and I'm really happy if you want to debate on this, because I think it's very important to talk about this. There is a problem, and it's a very recent, and I think it's related to what you said. Yes, a very recent event that happened here in UK. I'm based in London, and in Brighton there is a very big festival every year in March, April, May, where they invite like 500 bands you can apply, or musicians. It's massive festival.
Yeah.
Within the sponsor, there were some of them which they are not doing such a good job in the, and everybody knows, yeah, on the sustainability, but especially now, for example, with Palestine and Israel, they are supporting. I'm not going to say which part, but you could have stand for that or not. I know, but for facts that some of my friends they declined the invitation, and at the end it was quite a surprising percentage of people declining. So in that way, you can see the influence and the impact of that action on the festival. Yes. Let alone the fact that obviously they lost so much money, because they've put money in advance, obviously, to create the festival. Yeah? But I know that this could be a problem for smaller bands and smaller individuals that for them is one opportunity in their career, which is very big. Yes, and they just got it, and to stand for something that is politically how would you say, sorry, controversial, yeah, politically controversial, it could be counterproductive for your career. Yes. So I know that you're rightly provoking for the personal individual responsibility, but I think, and I don't know what you think, but I think there is a degree of involvement that we should also consider. I mean, sometimes we are just moved by irrational, like I want to stand for this because I think it's right, but then we don't calculate that maybe, I don't know, the famous bands with millions of followers and incredible amount of CD sold and stuff, they have a bigger responsibility than you. So yeah, what do you think about this?
I mean, it's partly true, but partly also I think it takes away the responsibility from us again. So I mean, of course, there are bands like, for example, now Coldplay. They now published some numbers that they reduced the emissions by 59% since I think 2019, since they started with this whole emission reducing plan, because of different technologies they are using to use, for example, the energy of the audience for electricity and all these kind of things. So of course they are making a big impact, because you see a big concert. I mean, Coldplay, they are in big arenas, so you see, I don't know, 50,000 people at once. But for example, in classical music, I mean, of course, you always have to calculate, am I in a position or not? But mostly, I have to say, I mean, if you live in a democratic country, so if you're lucky to experience democracy, where you really have the freedom also to decide and to choose, because also that it's not always everywhere given, especially now. So if you have the choice in a democratic country to choose and to open your mouth and to have a voice, you should use that, because you're not just responsible for your own thing, but also for all the others that cannot speak for that. And that's what I always say, like if we, for example, here, or like the big names who are touring, who are under the biggest managements and who are playing just in the biggest concert venues, if they don't use their voice, how can it do student who just came out of the master's degree and want to change the world?
Yes.
So of course, not just, I mean, there has to grow another generation. Now I think those people like women and men, doesn't matter, who are already like 50 or older, and they are since 30 years in the business, and they made the career based on playing all around the continent, all the time, non-stop, jetting through the world. They are not going to suddenly change their image and being authentic with it, because that's, I mean, you cannot just say from now to today, okay, I don't do that. But there's, for example, a conductor. I don't know if you heard from him. He was also in Munich, but also in Sweden conducting. And he, for example, refused. He said from now on, he doesn't want to travel anywhere where he has to take the plane. And he's a chief conductor of a big orchestra. So there are people, but very rare examples. So, you know, it's a procedure. And I think the problem is also, it's not just the musicians, but we have to involve the managements, the promoters, and all those people, because they have also the real power. And I was now at the classical fair, Classical Next in Berlin. It's the World Congress for Classical Music. I was talking there about like the new artist profile of an eco-conscious artist. How can artists actually be or have a new artist profile? And there were all these managers, promoters, orchestra directors, magazine editors, and whoever, like really all the heads. And I realized, you know, they are like, they want the same product, because they say the venues are buying always the same product. So, you know, we say in Germany, we say like the rat is biting its own tail. So it's like, it's always this circle, like the management says, the promoters buy what they always bought. So the managements take always the same artist. So the artist says they always want the same. You know, it's like a circle.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you don't build up a new profile, you will always be stuck in this. So they are always the first ones with everything. And I think that if you have any chance, it doesn't have to be always everything about sustainability, but if you have the chance to speak up, to choose, to maybe make some decisions, or to organize your own things, or what you post on social media. I mean, you can play everywhere, but be an ecological artist or musician influencer on social media. You know, one thing doesn't influence the other. And I realized that the audience actually really prefers when classical musician stands for something. That's why actually also the pop, I mean, like entertainment business with pop and rock, and so they are so popular and famous, because I mean, Harry Styles would not be Harry Styles without his rainbow flag in the background, or, you know, Billie Eilish always doing her campaigns for vegan life. That's part of her, and she never said, I'm going to delete that from my profile just because maybe I lose some audience, some followers.
But yes, no, sorry to interrupt you, but on this topic, on this point precisely, there is also I mean, I totally agree, by the way. I'm just provoking, yes? I just want to hear your voice because I think it's very helpful for us. And but for example, one could say that then the brand identity, you create this brand identity with the flag that you want, whatever label you want to put on your identity, just for the sake of getting the audience attracted. So you're not actually helping the planet, for example, so you take the plane because it's cheaper, because it's the only way to go to another country in 2 days, 1 day, yes. So you just hide that part and you show what you want. So in a way, it's like, I mean, obviously, what we have to probably to ask from the people is a genuine interest in ecology. It's not just. So that's why I see the danger of it. The danger is, okay, let's build, let's be greener, at least on the social media. So in that sense, I mean, I couldn't say, for example, myself now in my position at the moment, I could do actively some practical things that you are suggesting, for example, which product to buy, or maybe next case I will buy from a company that also is doing, recycled product. This I could do it, and I think I will. Okay, I will. But I cannot just say, okay, I'm trying to be a greener artist, because I think it would be misleading. You know what I mean?
But I think there are also different levels. I mean, so first of all, I have the opinion everything, like to do anything is still better to do nothing. So
Okay.
it's still better if you have 80,000 followers and you make 80,000 followers, from 80,000 followers, let's say 30%, 40% to go green and sustainable, because you influence them. You just, for example, accept codes or some discount from sustainable brands. You make them go green, but still you fly sometimes for concerts. It's still better than you offer them all the time discounts, codes, whatever, for the most common, not sustainable gray brands. So
this is you're talking very wisely. Yes, you're very wise.
But also, of course, there's the danger. What you are describing is more this phenomenon of greenwashing. What is now a lot happening with big companies. So there's like the big brands for fashion, for example, and now suddenly in all the glasses, the windows, everywhere is like, okay, we recycle now. We take your clothes back. I just saw H&M, they take the clothes back, so you can bring your old unwear clothes, but the question is, what happens then to those clothes? And it's just, to shop there again. So the question is, when is it sustainable, and when does greenwashing start? So actually you become more money by pretending to be green. So what I, for example, do, I think transparency is also always the key to it, because we don't live in a world yet, and that we all have to know, we don't live in a world yet where everybody can live 100% sustainable. It's simply not possible. Like nobody at the moment. If you want to have a job, already there starts the problem. If you want to have a job, which job do you want to have if you want to live 100% emission neutral? Almost every job, doesn't matter where, in which company you would start, it's making some emissions. So it's really, at the moment, we are not there yet. But what you can do is the own choices in your personal life, the choices you have in your social surrounding, like family, friends, whatever. You don't believe how many discussions I was leading with in the family. Why did you buy again this product? It's not sustainable, so why do you buy it? And then, it's like, yeah, Leah, I know. And then half year later, I see it's again there. So I again mention, like, why? And, sometimes takes a few years to change those habits, but it's an influence. But also happens sometimes. I mean, I was playing last year on a festival in Spain, so I had to fly once. And that's nothing what I want to hide, because at the moment, unfortunately, already for me to travel, for example, from here to Hungary, it's pretty difficult by train. I mean, I'm doing that by the night train. I'm taking the night train. It's much longer, sometimes much more exhausting, because Deutsche Bahn, we are never in time here with the trains. You miss the trains, whatever. It's pretty annoying. But anyway, I do it. But for example, to go to Spain, there is no possibility yet. So I was flying because I had the chance there on the festival to talk about sustainability, to talk about this topic. But I am canceling and refusing indeed concerts and also offers, because, like, for example, to go to a private event somewhere, a private concert where I have to fly, I'm not going to do that, even if they offer me a lot of money. But that's a personal choice to make. Not everybody can do that, or not everybody wants to do that.
No, thank you so much. Sorry, but I mean, this is very honorable, and I wish I could give you now, I don't know, like 80,000 followers. So for you, because I mean, I think you have the courage to do that, but not everybody has it. But I think you're doing a really good job. I mean, but in practical sense, what we can, for example, I saw your video with Gaia. By the way, one question before I forget, because this I would panic. But aren't you afraid of mentioning names of companies and stuff, and just to get maybe sued, or no, you're not.
I mean, I mean, that's what I mean. I'm lucky to live in Germany. So
Yes.
if I say I'm not saying, I don't know, some insights. Also, if I have them, but I'm not saying them. So, even if I would know some details, I'm not really going to it. I'm just saying, I mean, it's a fact that those companies, which I mentioned before, they are simply the biggest sponsors because they figured out that to sponsor culture is a good thing for them. It's a good image for them. So unfortunately, I would say yet the green brands, they didn't figure out that it could actually help their image to sponsor culture. So I would more say like green brands, go for it. There's a lot of sponsoring potential. All the festivals, all the cultural houses, almost all the ensembles, the private ensembles, they all need sponsors. So if you want to sponsor your money and give your money for culture, go to them, speak to them, because yet at the moment the market is more for those more common brands, and that's a fact. It's not like it's not a bad information. It's just one has to think where the money comes from, and also those, they know that earlier or later they are changing their image. They have to change their image. There's no way around. So for example with Geva, also there, I mean, I chose that case, what you saw in the video, this Bio A series. I love that case because it's super cute made and everything, and it's from this biological flex fibers. My only, for example, the only issue in that was it's made in China, but I communicated that, so it's like it's fact. You can see there's written it's made in China. So I had the option between like the Geva Air case, for example, which is not sustainable material, but it's made in Germany, or to choose the sustainable material plus this thing that you can also, for kids especially or youth, it's very nice, this case, because it's growing with your violin kind of, so you can always adjust the size where the neck of the violin is lying in, so you can always push it either closer or farther. So it's adjustable, and that's very nice for kids, so you don't have to buy all the time new cases, which is already sustainable. So that's why I chose in the end that product, but it's not optimal yet. I mean, optimal would be biodegradable and made in Germany with green energy. That's that's like the.
I see. Yes.
But that's things you can work on, and you can discuss it, and you can communicate it. And if, for example, a brand asks me and I'm not allowed to talk about anything and to say anything about sustainability, then there's simply no collaboration. But it's personal choice. Again, we come back to that. It's maybe you said it's courage. For me, it's kind of having my very clear path in front of my eyes, and I don't want to give up sustainability for maybe fame on social media or a lot of influencers or whatever. So either it works that way or it doesn't. But I think it's a personal choice. You have to make. And for young musicians, I always say, don't be afraid of making a clear profile. And clear profile doesn't mean just try to play perfect, because of course that's the quality of playing, but there are so many other things you can be as an artist. So try to educate yourself there and have the courage to develop something new, because that's what we need in the business. I mean, everything is changing, classical music is changing. So I think there are even profiles of artists or musicians we didn't discover yet because they simply don't exist. And in 40 years, if we will do this conversation again, it's going to be totally natural, or there will be a lot of green examples, and it's just changing.
Absolutely. I mean, you're very, not only helpful but very inspiring. I mean, I love the idea that you mentioned at the beginning, and it came back to be one person company. So like you are your own company, and as you are your own company, you can make budgets, and you can see where you're consuming the most and where are your net zero spreadsheets, and the suggestion you gave, make a clear profile, and which doesn't need to be just about playing, but you're an artist, so you can be a public figure even with small numbers, but build your identity around many other topics, not just around music. and I absolutely loved it. I support this 100%, and I would, if we do ever a campaign together, please consider me because this is very, very important. So I think you touched so many points which they are very good for us to think about. So we let them sink in. And what's your next project, if you have one in mind, or
Yeah, so I'm releasing now my first album in August, actually, on the 16th of August. So I'm there at the moment, figuring out something with the label, which is kind of half secret yet, but I can a little bit spoiler. So there
yes.
was like there was like still the opportunity in the booklet and in the inlay. So basically, for those who don't know what is an inlay, so you open the CD, and then under the CD, when you take out the CD, there's always a paper if it's see-through, the plastic. So, and
Yes.
you can see what is under, and there's space, like principally, to do something nice, something cool, something whatever. So if I don't want just a picture there, so I'm at the moment figuring out a collaboration with a tree planting company, and I hope everything is going to work, because I made a collaboration with them that it's a tree planting company from Germany, so I can visit them and I can see their forests and I can go with them there. So I really see that when you buy a tree, it's really going there into the earth and somebody takes care.
Fantastic.
And I want to print, like I got a code from them, like a rabat or sale code, and it's going to be maybe printed in the album, like behind the CD. So as soon you buy the album and you take out the CD, there will be your code which you can use to get some discount on planting a tree, and then you can plant a tree. And then afterwards you can you get like a certificate on grass paper, actually on recycled grass paper from that company. And so basically with this CD you have the possibility for cheaper to buy a tree and to make like together a green project and to replant. And then I will regularly visit this area in Germany and check how the trees are growing and how many are there. We are going to make updates. So that's what I wanted to do with my album, because the album itself is not kind of, I mean, it's not sustainable, it's a normal album, but it has recycled paper. That's already also something. So the booklet is from recycled paper. And yeah, this is hopefully also going to work. So I'm
Wow.
excited.
No, honestly,
that it's...
honestly, I completely fell in love. I'm in love completely. Can I help? Can I help? Honestly, can I help?
I mean, we just figure out how
we should talk about it, because I completely fell in love. I think I should help you, honestly, somehow. But this is such a cool project. It's an incredible project. I really like it. Nobody does it. No, this is very good. You please go for it. I mean, yeah, honestly, this is really good. Yeah. Okay, and you said it's gonna be out in October?
In August, 16th of August.
Okay, very soon. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, very soon.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I wish you luck, and do please let's stay in touch. I want to help.
Yeah,
honestly. Yeah.
Stay in touch artistically, musically, and yeah, definitely.
Yes.
But thank you for the invitation.
Of course.
So
Listen, okay, so sorry, say it again. Sorry. I lost you for a second.
If there are still some questions, I don't know, from the audience, from listeners.
Okay, let me check 1 second the chat. I think there was a couple of questions, but I think I missed them. I was too focused on your beautiful talk. It was so inspiring, honestly. But I don't know if people want to talk about more things behind the scenes about climate ambassadors, like Leah. But if not, I know you're very busy, and you are preparing this wonderful album. So I always ask this at the end of a question, so at the end of the chat. So this is my question. What would you say to your younger self, basically? If you have any suggestions, I mean, obviously you gave us so many, but maybe more on a musical, on the career building. Yeah. I think if we can say it fitting in 1 minute would be fantastic. So it can be a good reel for social media as well. And yeah, you can condensate everything you said until now, maybe. I think it would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the concept of one person company and to make a clear profile. But do please say what you think is the best.
sure. So I would say probably to my younger to my younger self that like don't be afraid to have an individual profile as a musician. Go for it as soon you see a clear path in front of you. So don't waste time with trying to fit into the business because the business expects that from you. So if you have values you stand for, listen to others, be always open to what they say, to especially to those who are experienced in the business. But anyway, go for your own way because in the end it's going to be your own whole life with your own company what you are having. So, and if you want your company, your own one person, one man, one woman company to be green or sustainable, then build it up as a green and sustainable company because it's just in your hands. And it's going to be hard and it's going to be tough because we are the first ones doing that in the business. So we are really in the beginning of a change wave. But don't be afraid of it because it's possible. It might take more gray hairs, more nerves, more strength, but it's going to work. So yeah, follow your own path and do what you want to stand for also in the future.
Fantastic. I absolutely loved your suggestions, and do please, guys, follow, re-listen to follow her first of all, and re-listen to the chat we had because I think it's really helpful. And we had a very nice, interesting chat about sustainability, how to be greener, you know, and how musicians can be really active in doing this.
Yeah.
And I think it's very helpful. So thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you.
Do please let's stay in touch because I really want, I really mean it when I say that I want to
Definitely.
help. So, and I love your content, so please do carry on with the content creation as well. We didn't have that much time. I'm sorry. I wish we could speak for 2 hours about all the incredible ideas you have and all the things you are involved in. And as you can see in her profile, Instagram profile, she's very active in many other, and she's moderator of Tonale, and she's doing so many things. So you're a wonderful human being, obviously, let alone an incredible musician. And I'll see you soon, hopefully. And thank you so much for coming to this episode.
Definitely. Thank you too. Bye bye.
Ciao. What an incredible guest, honestly. I was so happy that for the first time we talked about sustainability, and I know it's a topic that somehow it gets immediately political, no, and controversial. But there are things that we can actively do as musicians. And as we said, there are different levels of involvement, obviously, in the change, because obviously there are big names that can do bigger things, and but us as smaller, as she said, one man company, one woman company, is fantastic idea of looking at yourself as a company, no? And I really support this idea, and I totally agree with this. And I've been treating myself as a company since I started thinking about my career as a musician. And I think it's very helpful because you look at yourself as with all the different aspects of your career, and you can actually make budgets, make your net zero spreadsheet, you know, like treating yourself as you would do something better for the future as well. And as she said, stand for your values, because creating your identity is part of it is standing for your values. So don't hide behind like the fear of I'm losing opportunities in my career. This is not true. It's a false perception, and the reality is that many more companies are interested in genuine and authentic, I would say, brands, which are like possibly artists, right? So thank you so much for following. I'm really glad so many people were following this chat today. And do please follow next episode. And I hope to see you at Sunday Musicians Cafe maybe one day.